All right, welcome everyone to Spirit Coffee Talk. We are so very excited to have our special guest here today, Kevin Semeniuk, who is, man, Kevin, you are just multifaceted, multi-talented. You're an author. You just released a book, which we will talk about on my podcast in a little while. So not yet, but we're going to tease. You're also what we call the modern day shaman. You walk in many realms, you clear energies, you are divinely connected to Mother Earth, to the cosmos. There's this really neat sacred nature about you. And so we're so excited to talk to you today about the ascension energy. I did a podcast on this on Monday, and I'm so excited that we all get to join together and talk about what are these ascension symptoms? What are we feeling right now? How do we embody this massive change that's happening? Because we are all what we could call light workers. I mean, if we want to use that term, working in favor of growth and ascension on this planet. And we're all experiencing these things in different ways, as are all of you that are watching this. So how lucky are we to have a conversation to explain some of these things and share what our experiences are so that we can all feel like we're not crazy or like we're losing it or like we're not going to make it or fumbling, or it allows us to not take it so personally when we realize that we're all in it and experiencing it. So,
yes.
All that being said, Kevin, welcome to the show.
Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you.
We're happy to have you
nice
here.
To see you. Yes, I'm happy to be here. That was a nice intro. Thank you.
You're welcome. Did I make you blush a little bit?
Yeah, you're pumping my tires.
It's hard to hear. It's hard to hear the intro about you. I know it's a humbling experience for sure.
Yeah, but it's all true.
Yeah. Kevin, where are you joining us from? Where are you?
I'm in the heart of nowhere. I'm up in the bush, so 5 hours north of Edmonton.
Yeah. Okay. Luckily, we got some internet service for you so that you're here.
Yeah, I was out from like the middle of the night until maybe 30 minutes ago.
Oh, no. Wow.
Yeah, it happens
Divine
at random
timing.
Like that.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
You were meant to be.
I was looking for a way out, but
like, no.
Funny.
Come on.
Exactly. So, okay, we are right in the mid. Actually, no, we're coming up to the completion of this eclipse gateway. So on Friday. So we're recording this a couple days early. This will be posted on Friday. So those of you that are watching, this is coming at you on the 5th day of the week, on the 5th and the 5th month. So we have 555,
which is
under
change.
Transformation under a full moon, which is endings, and in the sign of Scorpio. The moon is in Scorpio, which is transformation. So we have
plus 23, year 2023, which is also added up to 5. So it's like 5 5s on that day.
Oh goodness.
It's a lot.
Cave.
Yeah. So massive transformation energy. So how are you all feeling with this? Like, are you feeling like you're riding waves, or you're being crushed by waves, or is it everything and anything? I mean, I know for me, I'll start. I know that there's some moments where I feel like a wave is about to crush me, but then I can catch my mind chatter, and it's almost like I'm given this boogie board and I can get on top of the waves, right? But I find it really comes through my mind and what I think and what I catch. So I noticed that's been happening a lot. Like, there's this repeated pattern of potential things to knock me over. But if I'm vigilant about it, and not like frantic vigilant, but just aware, being like, what is that? I'm curious about it.
You know what I find? What I've been finding, what really affects the mental body is these like solar flares and that high energy from the sun and what's happening with the sun, which I don't know a whole lot about other than information that I receive or kind of seek out, or things that you, Ginette, share with me about like the solar winds, the solar flares. All of that high energy really seems to penetrate the mental body, creates a wild stirring. There's like lots of mental chatter. It's just a big stirring, and there's times when you really have to stay on top of your mental body to catch what's occurring. There's a lot of intrusive thoughts that penetrate the mind. There's a lot of like added, seemingly psychic energies, cords incoming, outgoing, that seem to attach really quick with this energy. it can be wildly intense, but I notice there's certain times in the day, and often I find it correlates with, if I find a post regarding like the Schumann resonance or these solar flares and stuff like that, where like there's these heightened times throughout the day with the sun where it's really intense, where it kind of correlates with the activity of the mental body. It's really wild and intense at times too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know what? I agree with that big time. And you know what just kind of came up for me as you were talking about this, is that sometimes when well, obviously we can feel it, right? We can feel these intense energies come in, especially right now. But what we tend to do, like on a subconscious level, especially when we're not super used to this or aware of it, when all of a sudden we'll feel this intense energy or frequency, it will like trigger our subconscious about how it is. So let's say it's striking up an anxiety, okay? And then all of a sudden we're feeling anxiety in our body. Then what we tend to do is subconsciously we pair it with something that we're used to pairing anxiety with. And that's part of our head, right? So
The
all of a
mental
sudden,
body, yes.
I'm financially in trouble and my life is falling apart and blah, 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 because that feeling usually triggers the connection to whatever it might have been, where we have to pull back and be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We don't need to answer so many questions with our head. Let's just like try moving it through our body first without labeling anything.
I think
that's
a lot of
super conscious awareness, right?
Yeah, and I think that part of that is because I don't know if lots of times is the right way to say it, but there's like a kind of a taught theme of that thought comes before the feeling. But with this energy, it literally stirs a feeling before the thought, and then the mental body goes looking to create logic out of what's happening in the physical body.
Bingo.
So then the mental body tries to attach to the physical body and what's happening in that energy, and that's where you get like, I don't want to go to work tomorrow. Why don't I want to go to work tomorrow? I'm not feeling good. I should be staying inside. And then it just runs with this snowball effect of anxiety and fear, or like this undercurrent of heavy, dense energy. But really, it's the body that's being affected first, and then the mental body looking to create logic to the experience in the physical body.
Definitely.
I think another layer of that right now too is that not for the on a global collective scale, the things that our brain perceives happening around us are also confirming those anxieties. So your brain's like, oh, flip on the news. Here's a laundry list of reasons that I should be anxious. Great. I felt it. My brain's saying it's there. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to run with it even further. Yeah. So it's like, we work with it. I know for me, it's like, okay, I work with it. And then like open up Facebook and it's like, oh, here's all these things. Okay, gonna step away from that, because the brain will latch on and be like, see, I told you, there it is. And then it tries to run amok. So it's like doing that inner work, but then also really being aware of the things that you're taking in externally, because those are just as triggersome for the brain right now.
That's what we were talking about last week too. It's like, really be conscious about what channel you're putting on. It's like, if you're already feeling anxious, like, you know, you'll probably tend to then follow that frequency, right? But if your intention is, I want to be in this frequency, I want to be aware of this, I'm going to seek things that validate that, boom. Or simply, I have, like, maybe change it, like consciously change the thought pattern. Like, I'm feeling super anxious. All of a sudden your body's anxious, and be like, I'm anxious, instead of being like, it's because of X, Y, and Z. Ooh, anxiety. That's my alarm bell to tell me to go outside and take a walk. That's my alarm bell to tell me I need to move the energy through my body.
And you know what's interesting too, is when anxiety comes up, the last thing we want to do is move, which is why we need to really get into the mental sphere to break it, to break that pattern of freeze, because oftentimes we don't want to breathe. We want to just, right? And what we need first is breath. Like 1 breath to 3 breaths can start to change it. And then if we can make ourselves move, even move out of the room you're in, walk into a different room, like any of those actions can help dissipate the anxiety. But it's funny because the anxiety creates a desire to stand still and freeze.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a challenge.
Which is also, we're built that's a very primal response chemically within our bodies. We're built this way to have these reactions. It's fight or flight. And so when, especially with this energy where the nervous system is being bombarded in such a way so strongly, the nervous system, it's like it almost tends to not know what to react to, what's a real threat, what's not a real threat. And the anxiety is actually a normal functioning chemical response within the body. And Lisa used the word alarm, which is really what it is. And that's the first reaction of the body, is the alarm. And then it's the follow-up of, is this a real threat? If you can catch it there, and is this a real threat? Is there something actually going on? And that's where you can or hopefully learn to stop the snowball and kind of just sink into your body. Like you say, Ginette, breathe and take those deep 3 breaths, or go for a walk and just understand that, okay, in this moment, there's energy that is moving through my body, looking for a way out, whether it's through breath, whether it's through movement. This isn't about the mental body. This is about the physical body. The physical body is responding exactly how it should. I'm built this way. And now to move forward, right? And just try to disconnect from, not like without acknowledgement, but just to disconnect from the mind, and in that
The mind
of it seeking answers and seeking logic and seeking reinforcement and all of those things, because it really is about what's happening to the physical body.
Yeah.
I had this, like, in ceremony, I had this because my approach to grounding has changed over the last like 2 months. I shared something on Avalon with it. I shared it with you, Ginette, as well. And I was in ceremony like a couple of weeks ago, and what I was shown was, there's all of this light coming down from the sky, and then there's all of this light as the frequency on Earth. You know, it's troublesome for me sometimes to hear about how dense the Earth is, how dense the Earth is, how dense the Earth is not as her body dense. The Earth is forever. The Earth is forever. We are people. We're the density. I think that should be made very clear, is that we're the density, not the planet. The shift in the planet is happening due to a shift with us people, its habitants. That's our mother, right? But we are creating the shift. So as the light comes down, which is all ultimately divinity, and which is penetrating us, creating us to be greater, stronger light beings, all of us, whether we're accepting it or not. We're all shedding layers, whether we're aware of it or not. We're shedding. And so we're taking on more light as physical beings and inhabiting this planet. And so there's light coming down, and now with the light accelerating and growing stronger here on Earth, there's like this pocket, as it's being pushed down and pushed up, there's this pocket of density, which is where there's like a layer of fear, but it's not deliberate, it's not like dangerous, it's not powerful, there's no conspiracy behind it, it's not something that anybody should be afraid of. It's just like almost by nature, there's this layer of density, and that is where the mental body gets caught in between the light coming down and the light coming up. Is the mental body is getting caught within that. Look at my hands. What a fool. That's where the mental body is getting caught, is in that space, right? If that makes sense, but that's what I was
totally
100%.
Yeah.
I agree. It's nice imagery, and I like how you explained it, because I think it's really neat.
Like this?
Yeah, especially with the hands, that did it for me. I got it right then.
No, for real, it did.
No, it's true.
It actually did. I'm a hand speaker too. I'm constantly using my hands.
I didn't even really know I was until just then.
That's okay.
Yeah.
You know, and I want to say too, I think this is so much of what Spirit was saying in the beginning of the year. They kept repeating this message that I think I said over and over and over, but not to take things personally this year. Right? Like 2023 was a year to not take things personally. And I am learning to understand that, like, don't take the energies personally, observe them and witness them, but don't embody the ones that aren't for you. Right? And it seems to be coming up over and over again now, of like, oh, I get it. Oh, I get it. Oh, yes, I get it. Right? And we can start to differentiate or separate from that. and from some of the densities of the things around us, right? Like just because we're standing by something that is, say, more dense, whatever it may be, we don't have to embody that density. We can still stay in that light energy that we pull from the earth or the
And we
cosmos.
don't have to judge it either. You can
Yes.
simply just observe it. Be like, oh,
Yes.
interesting.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Because, you know, I've learned that judgment is really when we place a harsh judgment. I'll say that because we can have an idea or a thought about something, right? We can see if it resonates, if it doesn't. But when we place a judgment, like a harsh judgment on something, it's usually a defense mechanism because there's
100%
something
it
in
is.
there that's like triggering us. Therefore, we need to judge it and put it over there. And I find whenever I really harshly judge something, I've been put in a position where I then have to experience it. And I'm like,
Literally
"Oh,
every single time.
yes,
Yes.
yes." Not my favorite lesson.
Well, it really makes you stop the harsh judgments.
It does,
Doesn't
right?
it?
It
But
totally
then,
does.
hey, on another level to that is experiencing it. Then you can totally transmute that easily then into the compassion energy because you're like, bam, I totally got this now. I understand it, right?
Yes.
And then it's such a conscious awareness when a thought or a judgment comes forward. Like now, if it comes forward for me, number one, I can truly say it's way fewer times than before because it's like a conscious thing, right? But now it's like if it does come up, I'll be like, oh, that's interesting. Did like teenage Lisa just get triggered? Like I think she did. Hey, like simmer down, girl. It's okay. You're lovable. You know what I mean? It's a silly example, but for
No.
truth, like, you know,
Can I read you something that came up the other day?
please.
So this is what was made very clear, and it says I, but this was the message is this. First, check in with love and ask gently, what am I to do here? And move accordingly. That is the only objective for your time here, to move with love in all experiences. So even in those moments of judgment where you feel that is the question that should arise and that you should answer to, is what am I to do here? Ask love gently, what am I to do here? There's no experience that you can move through that question does not hold weight to anything, all of it.
Asking love is applicable for every situation.
Every single situation, no matter what. What am I to do here? Ask love as though a guide. What am I to do here?
I love that, Kevin.
Oh
my gosh.
I enjoy love.
Was that for you?
I got goosebumps all over
That came
my
again
legs.
through, that was just in ceremony the other day. I was doing healing for somebody, and that just was kind of an interjection in the middle of it. Was just that. What am I to do here? And to speak to love as though a guide, and the only guide, and that is what it is God, the universe, whatever you pray to, whatever you connect to, ultimately it's love. That's the only thing that's the only reason you're connecting outward anyways, is for guidance from something softer than you in the moment. Right?
Amen.
Guidance
Kevin,
from something softer than you in the moment.
Yes.
I love
You're
that.
really
That's
good with
from me.
words. You're really good with words.
Yeah.
Kevin,
really
can
beautiful.
you, because you just mentioned that you were doing healing for somebody. Can you talk a little bit about what it is that you do? Because I have to say that I did get, I had you kind of do that for me, and my sister did as well. And both of us agree it was probably one of the most transformational experiences we've felt. So do you want to talk a little bit about like what that is that you do and how that works for you? Please.
I don't know how. I
know it's so natural. Hey, it's just like so flow based for you.
It's like writing. Like for me, when I'm writing, I don't wonder where I belong. I'm not questioning what my purpose is. I don't have any longing or wondering or imagining outside of the moment. It's just what's happening in the moment. And I think part of that is because I, for whatever reason, have been given a really strong gift of willingness in those spaces. And so I don't question anything. I just remain open to what's happening. And with healing specifically, ceremony specifically is, which is kind of curious, because with periods of in writing too, there's moments where I feel like I have nothing to say, but then in those moments is where really everything is happening. And same with ceremony, when there's little like dips or these kind of spaces in between getting to work with somebody, there's something new happening, and then the next time I go in, someone new has joined. Anubis is really strong right now in this added part of this body scan that we do. But all of these things, none of it is anything that I sought out. I didn't seek anything. I think I've just kind of, Ginette can attest to this, like I've just kind of followed the path of like
love,
cobblestone after cobblestone or brick or whatever that's being placed before me. But those are things that I pray for. And yes, it is ultimately love and the desire to experience that. And part of my prayer daily is to send me those in need and work through me to serve your will. So and to help recognize them as though they are myself and what it is that is needed. And so I think there's something inside me or a part of me that I know I'm not explaining what it is that I do, but I'm trying to find ways to explain how it works, because I don't always understand it. I just kind of show up and let it be done. Right. And I say at the end, thank you for working through me and guiding me to work through you. And there's a whole team, like and it grows bigger and bigger. Like I found out that Poseidon has a lover through that space. There was someone next to him and in one healing, and the energy is there. And then there's something new that's being added to ceremony, and then like slowly all of these little dots are connected. And then when I come out and then I Google, like however I figured it out, Ice Queen or something like that, and then he has a counterpart named Hione, and she's within this space. There's Horus and Serket and Sekhmet and Ptah and like Anubis and Isis and Osiris. It's wild. And I
and the
don't
angels.
really, yeah, and angels, archangels, ancestors. There's this Arcturian council. There's 7 members that showed up a few months ago, and they just present themselves. And the first like really like where I really started to notice a couple of years ago was, I think it was Metatron and Sandalphon, and they were off to kind of like and because they come, the way that we do roll call is from left to right, and Jesus is right at my left. It's odd that I'm sharing this much because I don't typically talk about this much, but this must be the spirit of coffee table talk. But
you're right about that, Kevin. Keep going.
A couple of girls gabbing. So, Sandalphon and Metatron were here, and they were kind of the overseers, and that is where it really started to grow, was when I recognized that there was something within this space that was there to make sure that everything that is occurring is not rooted in ego, and it's rooted in purpose. I'm not saying that I don't walk around the world without an ego, but I know through my writing where I belong, and it's walking a line of storyteller and allowing the story to be told. And within the space of healing, it's very similar. I just make myself available and allow the work to be done. And it's almost as though there is no space for me, Kevin, as you are interacting with right now, for me to interfere. So now the process of it is, which I've shared with Ginette, and the process of it is, when it comes time to connect with somebody, I wash up, and then I have my own little process of smudging and cleansing the space and all of those things, and then I clear all of my energy, and then I connect, and then I light a candle for creator, I light a candle for the person who we're working with, and then I connect, and then I go, I do my roll call which starts from left to right all the way around, and ends with the archangels, and then we go in and then we connect, and then we just get to work and clear darkness and cut cords and energy bodies. And it's grown so what I've been exposed to and the abilities and how that has all grown, and there's a new piece, like when someone new comes in, like Horus, that for example, or there's a new aspect of the healing that gets brought, and it's the strangest thing, because it happens in a way where it feels like I've just been doing this for 1,000, 2,000, whatever years.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of
Probably
that
have.
You
Yeah.
have. You have.
maybe because I don't question it, or maybe because I really have. I try not to get in the way of it. I try to just step in and allow, like I say, to work through me and guide me to work through you. And it's pretty, it is really cool. I don't talk about it enough in the depth that I just did, but I really do enjoy it. It's really something special, and not an attachment to me, just from an aspect of witness and getting to see what happens in that space, and to see how just like how just beautifully in favor the divine is in all of us, and in our healing and our path and our journey, and yeah, it's really just cool. I've had the privilege of being able to work with people from everywhere, from Florida to Scotland to Germany to London and it's with zero contact. It's really like with no contact. It's one email asking for permission to have access to their higher self and their light, and that is it. And it's the strangest thing in the world.
I think that's so amazing, though, because it's like you're putting, and I can appreciate why it might be challenging to talk, like to share in a tangible way, because it's not a tangible thing. And our, going back to our earlier conversations of our brain wanting to put labels and boxes and understandings around things, when like really that's not real. It's these perceptions. And so when you're working with something in such a divine way, and it's such a beautiful example of just being able to kind of step into the truth of yourself, allow what comes to come, because I think for a lot of us that can be our biggest block in this world, right? Is like expectations and perceptions, and well, but what about this, and I want that, and it's going to look like this, and I think being able to just step into like whatever your process is, like you, but also collective you, whatever your process is for connecting into that essence of self and everything around us, and then allowing it, is when that beautiful magic comes. And I can appreciate how that, when we don't necessarily, when people are like, so what do you do? And you're like, well, I don't know, but it's trying to satisfy a human brain thing that isn't always that easy to articulate in human 3D words that we've made up.
Yeah, I honestly feel the same way. Sometimes when people ask me that, I feel like people have asked me that a lot lately. It's like, what do you say?
It's hard. It's hard, but also too, I think because like I think maybe there's aspects of it that you can attribute to what we've done with words, like with the word God, and what we've done with the word prayer, and what we've done, like there's all these negative connotations that come along with even religion. I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. What does it none of it matters. But there's all of this kind of like background noise or fear of judgment, and I think that like that's where the hesitation comes from in wanting to just outwardly express it, because when we talk about it, you can feel it bubbling inside of your chest, you can feel it in your belly, you can feel how happy it makes you, and that's because it's your truth. And then when it comes outward, it's even more celebratory, because now you get to freely express your truth, right? Like my posture is changing, my chest is up, I feel joy in being able to talk about this freely without a fear of judgment, because I trust you, right? But when somebody that you maybe don't know, I think whether you acknowledge it or not, there's a fear of judgment and maybe a lack of comfort. Maybe that could be it, but it's we all kind of in different ways, whether we're aware of it or not. We're not always creating the space for people to be honest and genuine and truthful, you know, and we also condition each other to not praise themselves, it's arrogant, it's cocky when you talk kindly about yourself. You're not supposed, everybody else is supposed to tell you how lovely you are. Wait for someone else to celebrate you. You know, we condition each other in that way. So then when it comes to speaking our truth, there's a hesitation for fear of judgment, I think, is really what it is. Because the feeling you get when you get to talk about it, it's like, oh my God, I'm free, I'm open, I could,
Freedom.
and yeah, it's freedom, right?
It is. You know, and I like that you're bringing that up, because one point that I was going to say is what I find so interesting, and it's such a common thread, is that people that know their connection to their gifts and abilities, whatever it may be, and say either spend time in that space or work in that space, right? Whether it's mediumship, healing, clearing spaces, that space and the confidence in that space can be just so free, truthful, real, 100% of your whole being, and it all makes sense to you. But then we also walk the realm of just being human too, and sometimes those two don't mesh. There's times where they do and there's times where they don't, and I think it's exactly because of these judgments or questioning oneself, because when you're in that sacred space, everything makes sense. But then sometimes when you're in the human space, it doesn't quite jive with the sacred space. And I think a lot of light workers or people who step into those spaces think that they should be able to sustain that frequency, that piece, while also just being human. And I think it's something that shining a light on that's not always the case is really valuable, because we can take the pressure off of what you're saying, like judging self, having compassion for self in the good things that we can do in times we need rest, times we need comfort or reassurance. Like, they're very different spaces, but we can learn to walk one foot in each. But they both need, like, we need to honor each space for what it is.
They're both understanding, need that understanding for each. You know, I'm curious, I wonder, listening to you speak, I wonder if that's part of the test of being human, is to actually, that space that you spend in healing, that space you spend in ceremony, or however you connect with that energy, if that is actually, if the not test as in, but test, because we're, you know, life offers us opportunity consistently to be better, to be bigger, to be brighter, to embody the self as a whole, right? Consistently in every moment, whether it's judgment or. So I wonder maybe if that's part of. I wonder if that's part of it. I wonder if that's the goal of mankind, of us, of our species, is to actually, those gifts and that time you spend in that space is not really, maybe it's not necessarily meant to be sacred or to be sacred in that space. Maybe it's to walk like that in this world, in the 3D world. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's the transition that we're working toward, in those moments where you feel like, oh, I just feel held back. Why can't I just be that in here? And maybe the awareness of that is the opportunity to be like, no, I can. And then you have those conversations with love and those questions with love. And maybe that's the path to being that in this. Maybe that's the path, is to have those conversations when you feel challenged. Why can't I be, oh, I'm at this job I don't really like. Why can't I be, and then I get to go and do healings and I get to do this, right? And I feel like me. Well, why can't you be me in that job that you don't like? Maybe that's the test. Maybe that's the opportunity for the conversation of, what am I to do here? Or can you better guide me to embody my whole self in all that I do? No matter where I am, how I'm walking, where I'm walking, but to embody my whole self in everything that I do.
Yeah. And that's
that's not to take away. I'm not taking away from.
No, this is good.
It just made me think, because I'm like, I wonder if maybe. And of course, the frequency is different and the vibration is different. And
that's what I was about to say.
What I think too. Yeah.
Frequency, right?
Yeah. And so
what if?
Yeah.
What if, let's say, it's about the frequency that's like the craving, because when we're with spirit and we're doing our meditation or we're doing our work or we're having our like what we feel is our authentic moments, our most authentic moments of who we are, maybe it's that frequency that we're aligning with that just feels so much like home, right? Maybe if the whole intention then is to be able to the best of our abilities, maintain a frequency in which we're comfortable with. Therefore, we take it to the job, and guess what happens then? We either out frequency our space, and then like frequencies show up in one way or shape or form, or we take that frequency to work and we embody it through our heart space, and we literally wear that frequency like it's our job. And then we see maybe where we end up, or who our coworkers are, or what our presentation is about. Because what's happening is we're like, feels good, and then we go into the job, and then we align with the frequency that's most available at the time. And that up and down is exhausting, and it makes us feel separate from instead of embodied in, right? It's a practice, but like, what if that's what it's all about?
Well, the thing is too, is that everything reinforces this separation. So, cut out toxic people, don't do the job you don't like, all of these things, but maybe all of those things are really opportunity for you to hold your frequency. Your frequency ultimately should not be subject to change by your environment. Your frequency should be, that's your duty to maintain in whatever space that you are in.
You get to be in control of it. Sure, you'll have other things that might interfere or try to bring it here or there everywhere. But what is law? The law is, if you maintain and hold that frequency and practice, it takes practice, that attracts like attracts like, right? And so you're not going to hold your frequency as you're knowing in your authentic self, making decisions and guide with that. And then you're going to attract shit. You know what I mean? Like unless that's your frequency. But I mean,
what you want. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's essentially
it's a filtration
what it is
system.
About the 5D, 3D, right? Like 5D is, say, that sacred space. We just use that as a number. 3D is the human life. As we bring in the 5D into the 3D, that's what's helping the whole collective shift into 5D Earth, right? But you have to choose to hold it. But I think sometimes in order to choose to hold it, we have to be able to recognize both and then choose in the moment what we want to do with it. Like, it's not just an easy carryover. It has to be a conscious thought.
But then you ask two people that were involved in the same job, in the same room, in the same office. One's maintaining frequency up here, let's say 5D, let's just give it a label. And one's maintaining frequency down here of the 3D, right? They both experience the exact same thing. They will come out of that experience with completely different feedback based upon the energy in which they maintain every time.
So I think if I could bring this back to, which I love that it's come so full circle, but bringing it back to exactly what we started with, because yesterday in doing some channeling, I was just reflecting on like, gosh, there's so many people, it's clients, it's friends, it's everybody's like, what's going on? And there's this like, we're going to spirit and we're like, where do I do? How do I help me? Give me some context. Like this, like desire to, we pop up into our 5D meditation and we're asking these questions and we're trying to get clarity. And I think when we don't have the space in our own bodies, coming back to our mind, our nervous system, the fear, the trauma, all of those things that are living in us just from living in the world that, if we're on this earth, we've grown up in certain 3D circumstances, right? That have imprinted all those things. We've talked about that a ton. There can almost be this codependent relationship on 5D because our brain is like, go to 5D, get the answers. And what they were saying yesterday was like, you have to work with the things in your body, the things in your mind, the things that are creating that fear, creating that panic, that whatever's coming up for you, that anxiety that we were talking about, you have to clear those first before you can hold space for that frequency. Because what happens is we bounce back and forth. And that's where that we go up to 5D, we meditate, okay, I feel really good. And then we come back into life and then it's like, panic. It's like our body doesn't know how to hold it because our bodies can be so full of different things that we're carrying, the fear. And so it's like the fear can override that. And then we're in this like ping ponging effect. And then we go to spirit and we're like, okay, but what's the answer? How do I clear this? How do I heal this? Give me some context? And then what I'm noticing with people, and I'm noticing this with myself too, in certain areas where this is still living in me, they're kind of backing off. And they're like, we love you and we've got you, but we're not going to give you the answers, because as collectively we do ascend more, there is that deeper communication with spirit. And we have to be coming at it from a grounded way. It's like when you're in a panic state and you start pulling cards and then all of your cards reflect your panic state. It's because you're going to the questions with the panic. So they're
With
like,
the
great,
energy.
here you go.
Yeah.
Let me reflect to you what you're feeling is panic. And so it's
like
that
attracts like. Yeah.
Exactly. And so it's this, I think we're feeling this greater duality in that because both are so intense right now, right? 5D, like as you're talking about, Kevin, it's like we're getting from both ends. And then in the middle, the 3D, again, to use these labels, it's like a different level of intense, or a different kind of intensity. And it's, I think, for our human self, creating a bit of like, okay, go back to spirit, ask the questions. And what they were saying to me is like, work through those things, the root of those things that are causing fear. And we've done so many different spirit coffee talks in different ways to do that, because I think it's different for everybody. And then go. If you're having a hard time holding that 5D frequency in your job, in your relationship, or out in the world and connecting with certain people, if you're having a hard time not judging, if you're having a hard time not dropping into that space that you can connect to when you're in meditation, there's likely things living in your experience that you just need to work through. And I think that's why it's so intense right now, and why the energies are so intense right now, is because both are, there's just so much duality between the two. And the more we ascend, the easier it is for us to connect into 5D, but it can be just as easy to flop back into 3D. And so it's like, it's the perpetual balance. I've been talking, or in my own kind of mind processing this for the last year, this idea of balance not being a point that we reach, but a constant flow that we just have to kind of move between the two. And I think that it becomes easier and harder just depending on, our own life and what's going on. But spirit's not going to force the 5D on us. We have to bring it in. And if we're having a hard time bringing it in, it's because there's just stuff living with us that we need to clear space for. And we can do that. And that's the work. That's the stuff we do. And sometimes that's also just being present and living your life and finding joy and laughing. And that can be the bridge to 5D. But I think our brains just are so good at trying to put answers and clarity on something that is just so much more vast than we could ever comprehend. And then it limits us and it makes it so much harder.
I think it's easy to get caught being conditional. I think it's easy to get caught being conditional with our happiness, with our love, with, I think just in day-to-day life, it's very easy to be conditional. I think especially also, maybe not, as you grow up and become an adult and you're parenting yourself, it can be very difficult to not be conditional in everything that you do. You don't have somebody, when you're little, hopefully you have somebody rubbing your back when you're scared and all those things. And, when you have to start to take care of yourself, and happiness seems kind of like something that is attainable and not just a way of being, like I don't mean choices as in like, hey, it's easy, that's your choice, pick better thoughts. I don't mean like that. I think that's a horrible way to talk to people. I think it's just a sense of awareness and desire and working toward that. And there's a lot of things more specifically to the current energy that we can do to take care of ourselves. To the nervous system, I think, is a really big thing to tend to through sleep and lots of water, good food choices, dense food, whatever feels good for you, not trying to make the right choice, just what feels good. Lots of it is just what feels good for me right now, whether that's a nap and not to get away from your duties or things like that. But I think that a lot of it is choice, but having the awareness that choices are still hard, and life can still be challenging, and it's going to be challenging. We're human beings, trying to fit into a space that can often seem like just a really unattainable, euphoric idea, right? And the world around us isn't always on that same level of thought or frequency as us, and we're bombarded with challenges all the time on dropping down, coming up, dropping down, coming up, dropping down, coming up. And that's whether you're aware of it or not, whether you're living in it or not, whether you have a practice of prayer or connecting with spirit or any of those things. We're all subject to that same challenge, those same challenges day in and day out by the world around us. I had a conversation with someone this morning, and I shared some thoughts with him, but before I asked him, I'm like, shit, I'm not sure if this is gossip. I said, I'm like, I don't feel like it's gossip, but why am I wondering if it's gossip? But it was an experience that I had, and it was something that involved other people. So I had to go through the process of thought of wondering if it was gossip, which for me, I'm thankful I have the ability to see it that way. But I think that there's those are choices that we can make in what we're contributing outward and what we're bringing inward, it's like, but it's not easy, and it's not hard. It just comes with a sense of self-awareness, right? And that's emotional accountability. That's all of those things, and how we allow ourselves to affect the world around us just as much as we allow the world around us to affect us, right? So it's a give and take. What am I bringing and what am I accepting? It's about giving and receiving. And you have to be
practice.
And it's practice.
Practice.
Yes, it's practice.
All of life.
Just kick your ass. Yes.
I think these themes are really being highlighted right now too in this eclipse gateway, with the moon coming up, the changes, the transformation, the letting go, like huge letting go things. And with this awareness, the more aware we are in wherever we are, 5D, 3D, who knows what D at any moment, the more aware we are, like you said, Kevin, like, is this gossip? Where is it coming from? When we ask ourselves those questions, we have this massive gift in that moment to completely rewrite either a narrative, a program, calm our nervous system, change the trajectory of our life path. Like those moments are being, like, we're in a squeeze of those moments right now because we have the ability to make such massive transformation happen right now.
Yes, those moments of thought. Wait, hold on. What is this about? I'm recognizing this about myself. This brought this up, or that people might underestimate that, but that's huge. That small perspective, to be able to identify and observe that is massive change.
Yeah, and the thing you'll notice over time is that voice becomes more involved. That voice will make you question more. That voice will make you, and then you're going to be faced with an opportunity to share something or to be in a situation, and that voice will pop in, and you will watch yourself make a choice against that voice. Is this gossip or not? And the voice will say yes, and then you'll still do it. And now you are essentially, working with a program. And by chipping away at those programmings, that conditioning, that lower energy, and it's not horrible. None of it's dangerous. None of it is awful or horrible. There's nothing inside of us that's dark and should be avoided. It's all just part of being human. And with that sense of awareness comes what feels often like greater challenges, because you're trying to lighten the load, and you can only walk around with so much shit after having that sense of awareness. Life seems to get heavier the more aware you are without letting things go, right?
So what are some things that you do, Kevin, when you are experiencing things like that? How do you maybe transmute or integrate, or how do you move energy in tangible ways without maybe being too hard on yourself with thought? Or if you're feeling like an abundance of energy that's built up, or, like, what are some tangible things that you can to integrate that energy?
Well, it's for sure been challenging for me the last month, but I clear my energy every day. I smudge every day, sometimes twice a day. I don't do any of those practices out of fear. It's always rooted in faith. I'm never like, I don't ever feel, even in the heat of a moment where I'm feeling like the, the ground is kind of crumbling beneath me. I really try to, like Ginette said, I try to center myself in my breath, and then I will still go through. It's wild how powerful grounding is. And it's not a matter of going outside and putting your feet in the grass or laying in the grass or touching a tree, or there's so many, and I'm not saying this in a negative way, but there's just so many things that people talk about in those practices as though those are the answers. But you can ground truly by connecting with the earth. You can, like, just in prayer, in a conversation with the earth. Like I said, I have a prayer on Avalon that I shared, and it's really just a prayer. It's a conversation with Mother Earth about anchoring your light in her light, and accepting the roots from the soles of my feet and the anchor from the core of my being, and just picturing it like an anchor literally dropping from the core of your being into her body, and going through prayer like that. So I sometimes I have to ground 2-3 times a day, depending on how heavy the energy is. So I ground, I smudge, I drink lots and lots of water, and salt baths sometimes.
For me, that's a nightly thing. Salt
That
bath
is,
every night.
yeah.
I have to.
I didn't realize how much I bath and how maybe not everybody baths that much. I was out with a friend and I'm like, yeah, I had a bath again. And she's like, how often do you bath? And I'm like have a bath? She's like, yeah. I'm like every day?
Every
At
day.
least 6
Yeah.
times a week for sure. And she's
Yeah.
like, what are you, like 8? I'm like, what was the last time you took a bath? She's like, literally when I was like 8.
Yeah.
I can believe it. To each their own, obviously, no job. It's just like one of those things where you're hopping along life and you think that everybody takes a nightly Epsom salts bath.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tell me about it. I'm a 240-pound man with a bald head and tattoos. I tell some dude around me that I'm taking a bath tonight. He's like, bath? I haven't had a bath since I was 6. I'm like, I bath like 5 times a week, man. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do what's best for me.
Totally. I totally
Yeah.
agree.
Oh,
So things
I
like
love
that I do. What do you guys do?
Okay, well, I'm going to jump in on this just because you talked about Mother Earth, and I want to say you taught me this idea, and it has stuck with me, and it's the most powerful way of grounding ever since. So thank you, Kevin, for this. But you said, kind of in what you said in your prayer there, like, drop your energy like an anchor into Mother Earth. Ask that you can connect your energy with her, and then I ask her to connect her energy with mine. And so I'll say, like, can I share your light, and can you share mine, and can we work together to be this beacon? And I found when I asked the permission for us to both share each other's energy,
Yes.
like that transformed grounding to me. And I find when I do that, like I can
And you
just
can do that anywhere. You don't
anywhere,
have to be
anytime.
barefoot in the grass. Yeah.
No, yeah,
So
it's really powerful.
one little step further that I do is I ask for the divine light to flow through me, through my crown, down through my body, my energy bodies, aligning all of my energy bodies and moving down through my root into the almighty and powerful Mother Earth. And then I go into my prayer with Mother Earth, and I say, will you please anchor my light in your light, and your light in my light as the divine light flows through me, meeting me in balance. And then I go through my prayer with connecting to her. So it's like pretty much the same thing as what you're saying. And it's just anchoring my light in your light, and your light in my light, and meeting me in balance. And then that's when I picture and I talk to her about our light as a divine light flows through me and upward from her, that the light, divine light, blankets the planet, meeting all who it comes into contact with divinity and grace. And yes.
Okay, Kevin, I'm going to ask you to do something on the spot. Are you okay
No.
with this? No? Damn, because I was going to say, with like just finishing off this amazing podcast with your like brilliance in words and connection to divinity, if you could leave us with a little prayer, with a little grounding prayer.
Well, it's fantastic.
You're kind of the man of many words. Yeah,
you're the wordsmith.
Hey, if you can't, that's totally fine, but you can articulate it and just let it flow through you. And then if we could all just put our feet down and then ground into it, I think that everybody could use a little grounding prayer with this full moon and the energy of this. If you don't feel comfortable, Kevin, that's totally fine. Or if you want to grab words that you've already written down or just something that you say all the time, because what you just said flowed out of your mouth like silk. So say
It's
this.
not going to now.
I'm sorry, I literally just did exactly what you feared us doing, but you've been so wonderful, and your openness and vulnerability has been uplifting and very divine. So,
Goodness sakes. Okay, well, I'll read a prayer that I have.
okay.
Yeah, perfect.
But just give me a second.
Yeah. So at this moment, just if you're driving or if you're doing something right now while you're listening, that's totally fine. Don't get in any accident by closing your eyes. You might want to just come back to this moment when you have time. But when you are in a safe place, you can just get yourself comfortable, whether you're laying down or sitting up and grounding your feet into the ground and the floor wherever you are, or sitting and feeling like you're grounding in your seat. Just allow yourself to be somewhere where you can kind of just tune in for a moment and in a safe place. So for the listeners.
Okay, just also before I start, I just want to add, and I think I shared this as well with Avalon, is that because of some of the conversations surrounding the density of the Earth, and I think how that information can and is misconstrued, I think it's important that we understand that this is about heaven on earth. That's what this is about, bringing the divine light down to the earth through us, as we are responsible for that. It's not something that we are supposed to be seeking outward. It's something that we are supposed to be bringing through us to the earth, this planet that we were given. It's part of our objective as a species, as a human race, is to live in that divine space collectively, in harmony and unity. This is not about longing for a place better than this. This is about bringing, heaven to earth. So I think it's important that we keep that in mind, as we move through time here on earth, is that's our responsibility. It's not something we are to be seeking outward as though looking for a saving grace to fix to redirect us or to fix what, essentially what we have created. We're given opportunity in every experience to come together. We see that in tragedy all the time, right? So that's what this is about, all of it. So okay. Ready? Divine light, please hear my call and guide my words. Please shine down from the heavens a beam of holy and sacred white light penetrating my crown. And as you penetrate my crown, please move down through my energy body, my physical body, my mental, my emotional, my spiritual bodies. Please move down through my body, dissolving any discomfort, any darkness, any negativity. Remove any imbalances from my physical body, my mental, my emotional, my spiritual bodies. Please move down through my body, penetrating the almighty and powerful Mother Earth below. Mother Earth, please accept the roots from the soles of my feet and anchor my light in your light as a divine light flows through me. Please anchor my light in your light as a divine light flows through me, anchoring your light in mine, meeting me in balance. Please ground me in your sacred body. Please ground me in your energy, in your protection, your balance, your glory, and your grace, your love, and your light. Please ground me in your stillness and your peace, your will and your willingness, your courage, your resilience, your surrender, your comfort, your freedom, your forgiveness, and your warmth. Almighty Mother Earth, please ground me in your giving and your receiving, your plenty, your good fortune, and your abundance. Please flow through me gently and with great ease, and help me to flow through you, for we are one. Thank you for all that you provide me with in this lifetime and all others. Amen.
Amen.
That's beautiful.
Wow.
is it shaky enough for you? Thanks a
Oh
lot.
my gosh, no, that was
Great.
so powerful. I could feel it through my body and like through my feet.
That was
Oh, I
beautiful.
love that. Thank you. And I
Yeah.
know that there's a lot of people that will really greatly benefit from those words. I know.
Mhm.
And it's interesting because Spirit kept saying, get him to read his words, get him to read his words. And like the whole time, I'm like, no, he's not comfortable with that. No. And I was like, I'm going to
All
ask him,
right.
hey, Kevin, do you want to read some of your words? Thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah,
It's a
they're
gift.
beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you so much. And I know deep like this resonates so deeply, and I just know like every week obviously we hope that we hit a lot of places with people and that we can resonate with people, but I just know that this week it holds this extra frequency that I really do believe that people not only are craving but will benefit from. So thank you so much for coming and sharing your light.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. It's really good to see you.
You too,
Yeah.
all of you.
I've
Thank you
talked
so
to you,
much.
but I don't get to see you very much. It's really nice to see you.
It's nice to see you too. And Elyse and Ginette, thank you all.
Yeah, so nice to have you here. And so for anyone watching, if you're wanting to connect with Kevin, you can do so at avalonspirit.com. Also check out his Words of Wisdom on the Avalon Spirit Facebook group page. For some reason, that was hard for me to figure out.
And TikTok, you put on stuff on TikTok too. Oh, I love your TikToks. They're awesome. They're so inspiring, and they just like, you want to see tangible things that emulate frequency. This guy, yeah, his posts. Seriously. You're welcome.
True.
Well, you all are very nice. I appreciate it.
All
It's
right.
a nice place. It's nice. It was a nice space to share with. So I thank you for having me. Really, it was really nice. I was trying to avoid it with all my heart, but even the internet couldn't keep me
hunt you
away.
down. We hunt you down and make it happen.
Thank you.
Right. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching, and check back with us next week. Good luck with these high transformation energies.
Yeah.
And may you make the most of it. So
happy full moon.
Happy full moon, everyone.